Could you talk a little bit about multiples, particularly multiples that you all are selling businesses for in fire protection versus what maybe businesses are transacting at if the owner is going at it alone and negotiating the deal themselves with a single buyer?
Yeah, I mean, look, the fire protection industry is dominated now by private equity-backed platforms, and they are cash flow buyers, right? And so when we say cash flow buyers, we mean that they are focused on EBITDA or cash flow or any other sort of proxy for cash flow. They're not quote-unquote revenue buyers. And so, Nick, I'll use EBITDA as a proxy for cash flow.
Got it.
And
I won't tell Warren Buffett.
no.
Thank you.
Thank you, madam. And these large platform acquisitions, these things can go.
What's a platform acquisition?
So when we talk about a platform acquisition, we're talking about, these businesses that are platform acquisitions for very large private equity firms, and they may be companies that are doing 100, 200 million in revenue. They've got hundreds of employees. They're kicking off tens of millions of dollars in EBITDA. And these businesses, can go 15 to 20 times EBITDA, these large platforms. And, the investment thesis here is I'm a private equity firm. I buy a large platform business and I might pay 15, 16 times EBITDA for it. But then ultimately I'm able to blend down my entry multiple. So how I make money is, I pay 15 times EBITDA for this platform. Mm-hmm. Then I go out and I find these smaller businesses, we'll call them the family-owned or mom-and-pop business, which might be the $5 million in revenue fire protection business. And if I find that business that does $5 million in revenue and it does $1 million per year in EBITDA, mm-hmm. Can I go out and buy that for $5 or $6 million or 5 or 6 times EBITDA? And that's really where these guys tend to focus. And, last year, a client came to us who was referred by another client who had sold, and his fire protection business was doing about $1 million in EBITDA. And he came to us after having gotten offers from a variety of different acquirers. And, he's just running his business. He gets the letters, he gets the emails, he gets the phone calls. All the big players out there are trying to track down sellers. And so,
and these are private equity backed companies?
Almost exclusively.
Almost exclusively.
Yep. There were actually some direct inquiries from private equity firms looking for small platforms, but for the most part, I don't think they realized how small he was. The majority of the inquiries, though, were from private equity-backed platforms that are going out to make acquisitions, and their goal was to go out and buy on the cheap. Mm-hmm. And so, on $1 million in cash flow, he got a variety of offers that are $4, $5, $6, $7 million. At the end of the day, he looked.
How far? Just to interrupt quickly, how far along the line was this owner with these private equity backed companies in terms of, was he close to accepting an offer?
He had signed non-disclosure agreements. He had provided basic information. So what will typically happen is, the seller will get an email, hey, we're interested in your business. He makes the phone call, he sits down, has dinner. The private equity firm or the platform asks for financial information. Hey, give us your P&Ls, let's get some information on the business. We're going to turn around and put together an offer. Now, usually those offers aren't particularly reliable just because the buyer at that point in time doesn't have enough information to really make a concrete offer, but they can be directionally correct. And this guy wasn't particularly far, but he had collected 3 or 4 offers, and he was starting to very seriously consider it. His biggest question was, how do I know if I'm making the right decision or not? I don't do this on a day-to-day basis, and I don't know if I'm being taken advantage of. So one of his friends, a former client of ours, had sold, and he had dinner with him one night, and he said, why don't you call the Potomac guys? So he tracked us down, and we looked at it, and we said, look, we think if you accept any of these, you're probably leaving substantial cash on the table. We put together a financial model, and then he engaged us and we ran a process, and he's actually in exclusivity right now. His transaction will close soon, and he's going to end up selling for twice that of what the original offers were. So instead of 4 to 6 times EBITDA, his transactions in the 10 to 12 times EBITDA range. which for a business that size is actually fantastic.
And not only that, but just for that amount of wealth, right? Like the difference between 5-6 million and 12, 13 million. I mean, that's a drastic difference.
Drastic difference,
right?
doubled.